Alien ship sold for nothing. Human mechanic transforms it into a galactic legend. Jax Harrow walked through the crowded marketplace of Rilo Station, his boots clanging against the metal floor as dozens of alien species bustled around him. The station was one of the busiest trade hubs in the Outer Rim, a place where humans were rare and often treated like novelty pets. Some aliens stared openly at him, their eyes wide, whispers passing between them in languages he did not know. Jax ignored them. Humans had learned long ago that curiosity and confidence often mattered more than muscle in the galaxy. And he had plenty of both. The marketplace smelled of oil, spices, and the faint tangy scent of unknown chemicals. Shouts and laughter echoed through the enormous hall. Traders from countless worlds displayed gadgets, machinery, and spacecraft parts. Some were sleek and polished, others rusted and broken. Jax's attention, however, was drawn to a corner of the market that most beings ignored. There, sitting under a thin metal canopy, was a ship, or more accurately, a derelict alien vessel that looked more like a pile of metal than a spacecraft. Its hull was scratched and dented, patches of alien alloy bent in strange directions. One of its engines hung slightly to the side, wires dangling like broken vines. "Ah, that old thing?" a tall, green-skinned trader said, noticing Jax staring. His eyes narrowed. "Worthless. Been here for 3 rotations. Tried to sell it, but no one wants it. You can have it. For nothing." Jax raised an eyebrow. "Nothing, you say?" The alien nodded, shrugging. "It won't fly for anyone. Not humans. Not Orlax. Not even a professional Karax engineer. It's a heap. Take it, or leave it." Most beings walked past without a second glance. They saw only broken metal. Jax, however, felt a familiar thrill in his chest. That thrill humans often felt. The thrill of a challenge, of a puzzle that others had given up on. He crouched beside the ship, running his fingers over the strange metal. It hummed faintly under his touch, almost as if it recognized him. The controls inside were unlike any human system, covered in alien symbols and buttons that moved in ways he did not understand. Yet there was potential. Something about the ship whispered that it was not truly broken, just waiting for the right mind to awaken it. "How much?" Jax asked the trader. 0 credits. The alien repeated.
"I told you, nobody wants it."
"Take it or walk away." Jax grinned. "Then it's mine." The process of claiming the ship was simple. Paperwork was signed, scanned, and approved by the station's automated system. Soon, Jax was towing the derelict vessel back to his workshop. It wasn't much, a modest hangar tucked into a side bay, but it was enough space for a human mechanic to work wonders. For hours, Jax examined the ship, cataloging its parts and making rough sketches. It was clear that no human had ever touched this design before. The wiring was organic in appearance, almost like it was alive. The propulsion system used a strange combination of gravity manipulation and energy pulses. The control interface responded differently depending on who touched it. Jax chuckled to himself. Humans were known as clever, but other species often underestimated that cleverness. Aliens relied on rigid rules, perfect engineering, and repetition. Humans, on the other hand, thrived on improvisation. Where others saw chaos, humans saw patterns. Where others saw junk, humans saw potential. "This is going to be fun," he whispered. Over the next few days, Jax worked tirelessly. He wore a headlamp late into the night, scribbling notes, rearranging circuits, and testing systems. Each time he connected a wire or adjusted a panel, the ship seemed to hum more confidently. Sometimes the lights flickered, and strange holographic symbols appeared in the air, reacting to his presence. It was as if the ship was learning him, testing his intentions. At one point, Jax leaned back and wiped sweat from his forehead. He examined the propulsion module, trying to understand its alien logic. "Why would anyone design it this way?" he muttered. Then, as he adjusted a stabilizer in a way the aliens would have never imagined, the engine module glowed brighter. A small pulse of energy rippled through the hull. Jax's eyes widened. "No, it can work," he said. He could feel it deep in his bones. The ship wasn't broken. It was simply misunderstood. Word of the human and the derelict ship began to spread quietly. Other traders and engineers stopped by the workshop, curious to see what a human could do with alien technology. Most of them were skeptical. Aliens rarely trusted humans with advanced machinery. They assumed humans would fail. But Jax ignored their doubts. Failure was only temporary. Ingenuity was permanent. One evening, as Jax connected a strange console to a makeshift power source, the ship's main chamber glowed with a soft blue light. The walls hummed, and the holographic controls shifted into a configuration Jax could understand. He realized that the ship was not just a vehicle. It was an interface, a living machine that responded to intelligence rather than brute force.
"This is incredible," he whispered.
"You're smarter than I thought." The first test flight was a small one. Jack strapped himself into the pilot's chair, double-checked the systems, and initiated a slow liftoff. The ship rose smoothly, responding immediately to the subtle commands he issued. It hovered, tilted, and moved forward with precision. The aliens watching from the hangar doors gasped. A human controlling a ship that they had called worthless? Impossible. Some even muttered to each other that humans must have cheated somehow. Jax ignored the whispers. He focused on the controls, feeling a thrill he had never felt before. The ship was alive in a way he had never encountered, but he had learned to speak its language, at least a little. It responded to creativity, to curiosity, to imagination, human traits that alien engineers often dismissed. After 20 minutes, he landed smoothly back in the hangar. The aliens stared, mouths open. The ship's engines powered down with a soft hum, almost like a purr. Jax climbed out, brushing dust from his jacket.
Not bad for a human, huh?
He said with a grin. He spent the following week experimenting with the ship's systems. He discovered that it could self-repair minor damage using materials from its surroundings, adapt its energy output for faster travel, and even interface with other alien technology in ways Jax himself had not predicted. Each day revealed something new, something that made the ship more remarkable than the day before. Jax realized that this ship could do more than travel. It could explore, discover, and redefine what humans were capable of in the galaxy. For the first time, he felt the weight of a true responsibility. This was no longer just a curiosity. This was a chance to prove on a scale no one had ever seen that humans could excel where others thought they could not. And the best part, no one else believed it. That night, as Jax powered down the workshop and stepped outside, he looked at the stars stretching endlessly above Rylo's station. Other species looked at humans as small, weak, and insignificant. But he knew better. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and capable of seeing possibilities that no one else could. The stars seemed to wink back at him, as if acknowledging his silent promise. This ship, this human ingenuity would soon make a mark on the galaxy, not with weapons or violence, but with imagination, courage, and the sheer determination of a human mind. And somewhere deep inside, the ship seemed to agree. Its faint blue glow pulsed once, softly, like a heartbeat. Jax smiled. Tomorrow, we see how far we can go. Little did he know, the galaxy was about to take notice. The next morning, Jax Harrow woke to the faint hum of the alien ship in his workshop. Sunlight spilled through the hangar windows, glinting off patches of scratched metal, but inside, the ship's soft blue glow gave the place a strange, alive feeling. Jax rubbed his eyes and ran a hand over his messy hair, smiling at the sight of what the aliens had called worthless. "Good morning," he said softly to the ship, as if it could hear him. "Ready to learn today?" The ship responded, not with words, but with a ripple of light across its control panels. Jax took that as agreement. Over the past week, he had spent hours learning its systems. Alien engineers had designed it for efficiency, not creativity, so the ship could only operate in predictable ways. But humans thrived on unpredictability. Jax's mind worked differently. He could see patterns that were invisible to others, and he could imagine solutions that had no rules. He started with the propulsion system. Its alien engines were designed for speed, yes, but in rigid straight lines. Jax wanted more. Using salvaged components from nearby spacecraft, human ingenuity made from scraps, he modified the energy conduits. He connected circuits in ways alien engineers would have never dared, tested alternate energy flows, and rewrote the control sequences by hand. At first, nothing happened. The ship hummed, flickered, and even let out a soft squeal, like a machine confused by human logic. Jax leaned back, scratching his chin. Come on, think. There has to be a way. Hours passed, sweat dripped from his brow, his hands black with alien oil and metal dust. Then, without warning, a soft vibration pulsed through the floor. The engines glowed brighter than ever before. The ship lifted slightly off the ground, no more hovering, but an almost floating motion that made it feel alive. Jax's eyes widened. You can do that? He spent the rest of the day experimenting. The ship responded to improvisation. It could shift energy to its engines for faster bursts, divert power to shields for temporary protection, and even anticipate obstacles before they appeared. It was like a puzzle that reshaped itself every time he made a new move. And every move Jax made was uniquely human, intuitive, creative, and unrestrained by rules. As evening came, word of the human and his worthless ship spread quietly through the outer rim. Traders whispered in stations across nearby sectors. Most were skeptical. Aliens rarely trusted humans to handle complex machinery, but curiosity won over doubt. Some came to watch. A small group of aliens, engineers from a distant world, hovered at the workshop door. They had seen the ship move, lift slightly, and adjust itself in midair. They whispered in their clipped, precise language. "Impossible," one of them said. "A silver-scaled engineer with 3 eyes. A human controlling this?" It should not respond. Jax ignored them. He never needed approval from others to explore, experiment, or innovate. Humans often thrived when no one expected them to. For the next week, Jax worked tirelessly. He built a series of modular attachments, a tiny drone that could scout ahead, an adaptable sensor system to detect hidden objects, and an energy collector that improved the ship's efficiency. Each addition was simple by human standards, but worked perfectly with the alien technology. At one point, the ship's main chamber projected holographic maps of nearby asteroid fields and uncharted space. Jax leaned forward, his eyes gleaming. "So many possibilities," he whispered. "So many places to go." The aliens outside watched, their skepticism slowly turning into confusion. How could a human, using scrap parts and ingenuity, awaken something even alien engineers could not? One of the alien engineers, a tall figure with translucent skin, stepped closer. "Show me," they demanded. "Prove it." Jax grinned. "All right, watch closely." He climbed into the pilot chair, ran a few simple checks, and activated the engines. The ship lifted off smoothly, as if it had been waiting for him to unlock its true potential. Unlike before, this time he tested it in motion. He weaved through the hangar's metal columns with surprising agility, the ship adjusting automatically to every subtle movement he made. Then he pushed further. He directed the ship to hover above the station roof, skimming dangerously close to energy pylons. The ship anticipated every adjustment, moving with a fluid grace that no alien engineer could have predicted. Outside, the observers gasped. "How?" one whispered. Jax laughed. "We improvise. We think outside the rules, and sometimes that's enough to make the impossible happen." By the evening, the workshop was buzzing with new visitors. Traders, mechanics, and curious beings from nearby sectors came to see the ship that humans had revived. Some wanted to study it, others wanted to buy it, though the price was clear. Jax had no intention of selling. This ship was not just a vehicle. It was a symbol, a reminder that humans could transform what others discarded as useless into something extraordinary. As Jax worked late into the night, A holographic alert appeared on one of the ship's consoles. It was a distress signal from a small transport vessel stranded near a dense asteroid field. The signal was weak, but the ship could detect it. Jax's eyes lit up.
Looks like our first real test,
he said. Within minutes, the ship lifted off, moving faster than any other human craft in the area. Jax guided it through asteroid clusters, adjusting controls instinctively, the ship responding perfectly. The stranded transport appeared, its engines flickering weakly. Jax extended a small mechanical arm from the ship, connecting it to the transport and stabilizing it. The transport pilot, a nervous alien with too many arms, stared in disbelief.
How? How did you manage that?
Jax shrugged, a grin on his face. Humans have a way of figuring things out. He guided the transport safely back to the nearest station, the ship moving like an extension of his own body. Outside observers gasped again. The story of the human who revived a worthless alien ship began to spread faster than Jax could have imagined. Traders whispered in distant corners of the galaxy, engineers scratched their heads, and humans, rarely noticed in the outer rim, started to gain a reputation for ingenuity. Back at the workshop, Jax leaned back in his chair. He looked at the ship, softly glowing, pulsing with energy. "We did well today," he said. "Tomorrow, we go further." The next days were a blur of experiments, modifications, and test flights. Jax discovered that the ship could adjust its gravity field to move objects in space, collect resources from asteroids, and even analyze alien technology to suggest improvements. Every day it became more than a machine. It became a partner. By the end of the week, Jax had achieved something extraordinary. The ship was faster, smarter, and more adaptable than anything else in the outer rim. Word reached distant sectors. A human had revived an alien ship thought useless, turned it into a marvel, and begun exploring uncharted space. Even the skeptics began to reconsider. If a human could do this, what else could they achieve? That evening, Jax stood outside the hangar, looking up at the stars. The galaxy was vast, full of possibilities, and the ship, his ship, was ready to explore them all. Humans had long been underestimated, treated as insignificant, even weak. But in that moment, with the ship humming softly beside him, Jax knew the truth. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and capable of extraordinary feats when they chose to be.
He patted the ship's hull gently.
"We've only just begun," he whispered, and the ship pulsed once, softly, like it agreed. The galaxy would soon hear of a human who could turn the impossible into reality, not with weapons, not with brute force, but with intelligence, creativity, and courage. Jack smiled, feeling the thrill that only humans understood. Adventure awaited, and he was ready. Jax Harrow stood at the controls of his ship, the Dauntless, watching the stars stretch endlessly ahead. For the first time, he was leaving the outer rim behind, venturing into regions of space few humans had ever seen. The derelict ship he had bought for nothing now gleamed under his modifications, engines humming with life and purpose. The galaxy felt bigger than ever, full of mysteries and unseen paths. Jax's heart raced. Every jump through hyperspace revealed unknown star systems, new planets and strange anomalies that no alien had mapped. But the Dauntless responded perfectly, adapting to each new environment, its alien intelligence harmonizing with his human creativity. His first stop was a small research station orbiting a gas giant in the Verdun cluster. Scientists there had been trying to map the planet's unique energy currents, but had failed repeatedly. Jax offered to help, not for fame or credits, but for curiosity. He entered the system, the ship scanning the currents with sensors he had engineered himself. The results astounded the aliens. The currents formed patterns they had never seen before, and the ship's adaptive algorithm suggested safe paths and energy collection points. The humans watching were amazed, but even more so were the aliens, who had never thought a human mind could interpret these patterns so quickly. One of the station's engineers, a purple-skinned being with 4 arms, stepped forward.
How did you do this?
"We have tried for cycles and cycles." Jack smiled. leaning on the console. We humans, we like to try things no one else thinks of. Sometimes you see possibilities where others see walls. The aliens whispered among themselves. Humans, they realized, were unpredictable, clever, dangerous in ways they did not understand. After leaving the research station, Jack set course for the Scylla asteroid belt, a dense region notorious for trapping unwary ships. Every alien pilot knew to avoid it, yet Jax wanted to test the ship's adaptive capabilities. The moment he entered the belt, floating rocks and shards of ice pressed close. The Dauntless shifted automatically, tilting engines, adjusting energy flow, and even using small gravitational pulses to gently push obstacles aside. It was a dance, and Jax led it with instinctive precision. Every movement, every adjustment was human ingenuity in action, amplified by the ship's alien intelligence. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. By the time he left the belt, the ship had charted new routes and mapped hidden energy veins, resources that could help ships navigate safely for decades. But exploration was not the only thing Jax accomplished. On his travels, he discovered stranded vessels, abandoned stations, and creatures caught in dangerous orbits. Unlike many aliens who often ignored such problems unless there was profit, Jax could not. He repaired engines, stabilized ships, and offered solutions in ways that required brains, not brawn. One notable rescue involved a transport freighter trapped in a microgravity whirlpool near a collapsed moon. Jax carefully maneuvered the Dauntless, extending modular arms to stabilize the freighter. He rewrote the ship's energy flow in real time to counteract the whirlpool, allowing the transport to drift safely to a nearby station. The freighter captain, a jittery, long-necked alien, could hardly believe his eyes.
You saved us, he said.
No one could have done that, Jax shrugged, smiling. Humans are good at finding ways to solve problems.
We don't always follow the rules, but we get results. News of these feats began to spread like a wave across the galaxy. Traders whispered, engineers debated, and humans, always underestimated, started gaining a reputation far beyond the outer rim. Aliens began to watch, curious and wary. Jax noticed this. He knew other species would try to replicate his work or challenge it, perhaps even sabotage it. But he was ready. The human mind thrived on adaptability, and no alien had yet predicted how a human could think. As he traveled further, Jax encountered a peculiar species, the Thryn, who were known for their perfect engineering and rigid rules. They challenged him, claiming he had no right to manipulate an alien vessel that had once belonged to their ancestors.
"You are a human," a Thryn engineer said, "and humans are
Inferior. How can you operate what we could not? Jax studied them carefully. Their ships were perfect in design but rigid and predictable. He realized they relied on repetition, never improvisation. Smiling, he replied simply, "Sometimes the rules don't show you everything. Humans like to try. And sometimes that's enough." They watched as Jax guided the Dauntless through a series of impossible maneuvers, weaving through floating debris and energy streams, all while analyzing and improving the ship's systems. The Thryn engineers were astonished. The human had done what they deemed impossible, not by brute force or advanced technology alone, but through creativity, intuition, and a willingness to experiment. The Thryn did not understand humans, and that was exactly the point. They had underestimated unpredictability, and humans thrived on it. For days, Jax continued his journey, charting new star systems, discovering planets suitable for life, and mapping hidden asteroid fields. The Dauntless responded to every challenge, adapting and evolving. Every alien species he encountered marveled at the ship's capabilities, often asking to study it. Some came with offers of technology trades, others came with skepticism, trying to discredit him. Every time Jax's ingenuity found a clever solution, a slight modification, a simple rerouting of energy, or a human improvisation that left them stunned. In one system, he discovered an abandoned mining colony on a small icy moon. The colony's systems were failing, and the aliens who had once worked there had long abandoned it. Jax spent 2 days repairing the habitat, redirecting power, and ensuring oxygen circulation. By the time he left, the colony was fully operational again. Word spread, and humans across distant stations began to hear tales of a single human capable of reviving what others had abandoned.
Jax was no warrior. He did not fight with weapons.
But every act, every clever adjustment, every solution to impossible problems created a growing reputation.
Aliens began to whisper about the human mechanic who could turn the impossible into reality.
By the end of the week, he had reached a cluster of uncharted star systems. Here, ancient relics floated in space, remnants of civilizations long gone. Most species ignored them, seeing only the danger and decay. Jax, however, was fascinated. Every artifact, every fragment of technology was a puzzle waiting for human ingenuity. He explored, experimented, and adapted, unlocking energy flows, mapping hidden passages, and even discovering patterns that suggested communication long lost. It was in these moments, floating among ruins older than many civilizations, that Jax realized the true potential of humans. Not strength, not power, but curiosity, adaptability, and the courage to attempt what no one else dared. He could make a difference simply by thinking, imagining, and acting. As he prepared to chart a course back toward the more populated systems, a transmission appeared on his console. It was simple yet unmistakable. Human pilot, your work is noted. The galaxy watches. Jax leaned back in his chair, a smile spreading across his face. Humans were small, often underestimated, yet they were capable of greatness. Every planet mapped, every ship saved, every challenge overcome was proof of that. And the Dauntless, once a derelict heap ignored by all, had become a symbol. Not of power, not of destruction, but of human potential. The galaxy was vast, filled with species who had never seen humans at their best. But Jax and his ship were about to change that. He punched in coordinates to a distant, uncharted sector. The engines roared, adapting to the jumps in ways no alien pilot could predict. As the star stretched into lines of light around him, Jax laughed softly. "Let's see how far we can go," he said. And somewhere in the depths of space, far beyond the maps of traders and engineers, the legend of a human mechanic in a ship bought for nothing was beginning to spread, one story at a time. Jax Harrow sat in the cockpit of the Dauntless, staring at the vast expanse of stars ahead. Every system he had charted, every ship he had saved, and every challenge he had faced had led him to this moment. The galaxy, once indifferent to humans, was starting to pay attention. A message had arrived from the Galactic Council, the highest assembly of species across the known galaxy. They had heard of Jax's exploits, the human who had transformed a derelict alien ship into something extraordinary. They wanted him to demonstrate the ship's capabilities at their next session, held on a massive station orbiting the luminous planet Sorella. The council was intimidating. Representatives of countless species, all watching, judging. Humans were few in the galaxy, and most species thought of them as weak and unpredictable. Jax smiled. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but that was exactly why they were remarkable. He prepared the ship for the demonstration. Every system was checked, every modification fine-tuned. The Dauntless glowed softly, almost alive, as if aware that this was the moment it would show the galaxy what humans could do. The council chamber was enormous, filled with alien delegates. Tentacles waved, scales shimmered, eyes blinked in disbelief as the massive doors opened to reveal the Dauntless. Many whispered, some doubted, others were curious. Jax stepped forward, unarmed, unthreatening. He was a mechanic, a thinker, an explorer, not a fighter. Yet the tension in the room was palpable. The council representative, a tall, crystalline being named Villara, spoke. "You are a human," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Explain how a species considered primitive can operate this vessel so effectively." Jack smiled, hands resting on the ship's console. "We humans, we think differently. Where others see rules, we see possibilities. Where others see limits, we see opportunity. And sometimes that's enough to make the impossible happen." He climbed into the pilot chair. The ship hummed, its alien intelligence responding to his human creativity.
Jax began the demonstration.
First, he navigated through a virtual asteroid field projected inside the chamber. The council members watched as the ship moved fluidly, dodging obstacles, adjusting energy flow, and adapting in real time. Unlike their perfectly engineered ships, which moved predictably and rigidly, the Dauntless flowed like water, unpredictable yet precise. The delegates gasped.
"Impossible!" one exclaimed. "It reacts too quickly, too cleverly!" Jax chuckled softly.
"That's humans for you," he said. "We find ways where others see walls." Next, he demonstrated the ship's adaptive technology. He activated a series of energy nodes scattered around the chamber. The ship scanned, adjusted, and rerouted power with ease, creating a perfect energy network that stabilized the virtual structures. The council murmured in astonishment.
"You've made it."
"Smarter than its original design," Valara said, her tone both impressed and cautious. Jax nodded.
"It was never broken. It just needed someone willing to try something new." Humans are good at trying. For the final demonstration, Jax projected a map of an uncharted sector of space.
The area was filled with debris, gravitational anomalies, and unstable energy fields. No alien vessel could safely navigate it. Yet Jax guided the Dauntless through the projection, the ship moving with a fluid intelligence, adapting instantly to every challenge. Every species present stared, realizing what they had witnessed. Valara's crystal eyes glimmered. "You have shown us that humans are not to be underestimated."
"Your ingenuity, creativity, and courage are remarkable."
Jax smiled.
"Thank you. That's all we ask. Give us a chance, and we'll show you what we can do."
As he stepped out of the cockpit, murmurs spread through the council. Humans, once considered minor players in the galaxy, were now seen in a new light. The unpredictable, clever species had proven that they could innovate where others could not. The demonstration made headlines across nearby systems. Traders, engineers, and explorers began sharing the story of Jax Harrow and the Dauntless. The derelict alien ship bought for nothing had become a symbol of human potential. Humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, problem solvers, and innovators capable of shaping the galaxy. In the following weeks, Jax received requests from distant worlds. Some wanted guidance in engineering. Others wanted him to help explore uncharted territories. Yet he never demanded anything in return. To Jax, this was not about fame or credits. It was about proving that humans could rise to challenges and solve problems no one else could. One day, while resting in a quiet sector, Jax reflected on his journey. He remembered the marketplace on Ryla Station, where the ship had sat abandoned, considered worthless by everyone. No one had believed in its potential except him. And now it had taken him across the galaxy, earning respect and admiration from countless species. He smiled, patting the ship gently.
"We've come a long way, old friend," he said.
The Dauntless pulsed softly in response, as if agreeing. But Jax knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, and countless challenges awaited. There were still uncharted star systems, lost civilizations, and strange phenomena waiting for human ingenuity. And humans, he knew, were ready. In the months that followed, the Dauntless became more than a ship. It became a legend. Stories of the human mechanic and his incredible vessel spread from one system to the next. Humans were now regarded not as minor beings but as capable, clever, and unpredictable, a species that could solve problems no one else could. Other species began to invite humans to participate in engineering projects, exploration missions, and scientific research. The ripple effect of Jax's actions was undeniable. He had shown without violence or war that human creativity and determination could leave a mark on the galaxy. One day, as Jax piloted the ship through an asteroid belt filled with rare minerals, he received a simple message from a small human settlement in the Outer Rim. "We heard about you. You've inspired us. Humans can do amazing things." He smiled, feeling a warmth he had never experienced before. This was what HFY was truly about, not conquest or fighting, but proving that humans could rise, innovate, and shine in a universe that had often overlooked them. Looking out at the stars, Jax whispered, "We're just getting started. The galaxy has no idea what humans are capable of." And somewhere, far across uncharted space, the legend of the human mechanic and the Dauntless continued to grow, inspiring countless others to believe in themselves, to try the impossible. It's to believe in themselves, to pass on, to be returned, to build with us, and to remember that sometimes all it takes is curiosity, courage, and a little human ingenuity to change the universe. Jax Harrow, the human who had bought a worthless alien ship for nothing, had transformed it into a beacon of hope, creativity, and ingenuity. He had proven that humans were not just survivors. They were innovators, explorers, and problem solvers capable of leaving a lasting mark on the stars. And as the stars stretched endlessly before him, the Dauntless pulsed softly, ready for the next adventure, ready to show the galaxy what humans could do next.